Ahoy! Kurt DH made an interesting discovery today in one of the many posts that we had, articles we had about the Summer Game Fest, where we learned about New World Aeternum. And in this particular post, the devs, or specifically Katie, is talking about cross servers and crossplay. And it seems like things are a little bit different from what they've said in other places, at least, unless the information here is outdated, but I think this might actually be still current. So this article is on mmorpg.com, and again, it's about the Summer Games Fest, and if we scroll down here, we get to the discussion about crossplay. And here Katie says, you can actually turn crossplay off. There's going to be a dedicated non-crossplay world for, I believe, one of the consoles, but the majority are going to be crossplay worlds. You can choose to turn that off in the settings, but the worlds themselves will be crossplay. Kurt's conclusion from this is that there will be at least one server that has crossplay disabled entirely, and all other servers will have the ability to turn off crossplay for game modes such as Outpost Rush, Arenas, and Expeditions. The obvious concern here is that this could result in the legacy servers dying out even more than they likely already will, because they can't even play with the other servers if they have crossplay disabled. And Rendogenous actually found another statement from the official QA article that kind of goes into the same direction. It's at the very end of the article and states, new players will be placed on fresh start servers to ensure they can begin their journey on a level playing field, but can opt to join PC legacy servers and play with their friends. Now, this is a bit weird in itself, because how exactly can you opt to join? Is this referring to a server transfer that you actually have to pay for? Are you actually forced to play on a fresh start because it says you will be placed there? Or do you get the option to still select the PC legacy server at the start and just say, hey, I just want to be there, but it's not the first server that gets recommended to you? In that regard, I cannot alleviate your concerns. I think that is just something where we need answers. But I do think that the whole servers being locked to no crossplay is not as concerning as it sounds. Now, what would make me think that? First of all, let's talk about the dedicated non-crossplay world. So this is going to be a dedicated non-crossplay world, a specific single one, maybe one per region at best, and it's only for one of the consoles, and this is, I think, where the emphasis needs to lie. It's not just for both consoles together, it is for one of the consoles. And if you followed any game that has had crossplay lately, then you can do the math here. It's a 99% chance that this is going to be for PlayStation. That's because Xbox and Microsoft in general is very, very focused these days on having as much crossplay as possible, releasing everything on Xbox and PC at the same time, kind of just building this whole ecosystem. Their financial system no longer relies on them selling their Xboxes, whereas Sony still very much relies on selling their PlayStations. And as such, they try to keep things as exclusive as possible and will take any special deal they can get. They're very frequently blocking cross-progression in various games. They're just not allowing the studio to get that because they want to keep people on their platform, because that's all Sony has right now. They have a few exclusive titles still, but they don't benefit from crossplay the same way that Microsoft does. They don't really intentionally work in that direction to the same degree, even though they of course still benefit, because if games didn't release on their platform because they didn't have crossplay, that would be a downside for them too. But as such, I'm very much expecting this to be PlayStation exclusive servers, and the reality is that I don't think the majority of players will be going there, because even the players that may have an issue with playing with PC players will very likely not have an issue playing with Xbox players and will want to be on the servers where the action is going on, where you have a larger player pool to play with, and all other stuff that really comes in terms of benefits with being on the bigger server. So I don't think this will be a problem. Sure, there will be some outliers, but that's the same as some outliers that stayed on fresh start servers when everyone else went back to legacy, and some of them just died on completely and needed to be merged into each other. If there's one small PlayStation server somewhere, so what? I don't really care. I don't think that is going to hurt the experience overall. What I think is more concerning is the ability to turn off crossplay, because of course that would result in having a significantly larger player pool for each individual platform, and this would especially hurt PC players at the moment. To my understanding, however, this is the same result as in if you turn crossplay off, you're literally just getting matched with your own platform, not a crossplay between consoles and PC or console only. So you would only get matched with other Xbox players and so on. And I don't imagine that being popular for very long. I could imagine this being popular in the beginning, which makes sense, right? When all the new players are coming in, they say, okay, we don't want to fight the veterans right away, let's turn crossplay off. That makes sense, fair enough if that's happening for a while. Not a shocker, there will still be plenty of PC players having influence in other places. But I think in the long run, that's not where it's going to go. I think in the long run, there will be a significant portion of the console player base that will want to show their skill against the PC players. And I've seen similar things happening in other games where initially the separation was good to kind of have players find their bearings and catch up, but eventually everyone was in the same pool just to have quicker queues, to have better matchmaking, to have a larger competition pool, and also to be able to say that they've challenged the better players and said maybe, hey, I was able to keep up with them anyways. It's also going to be interesting in that regard what happens with PC players using a controller if you are somehow not counted as a PC player anymore because you're in console mode more or less, but that's something we'll still have to find out. Probably not if they actually go full on crossplay / no crossplay, because then it's just very specific to the individual consoles. You might end up in a situation where you're not even getting matched with other PC players that are using keyboards, but then you would definitely not be finding matches if you're a controller PC player. But yeah, I could see this hurting the legacy servers short term, but the legacy servers are already hurt, so there's not really much of a change there. I think in the long run we'll see more crossplay and more people just dipping their toes into that, and I think the separate servers in particular aren't a major issue. I hope they make it obvious to new players that they can also join legacy servers. I hope that is an option from the start, so they can choose for themselves if they maybe prefer that, but that again is something we'll need to hear more about in the future. Once we know anything, I'll of course let you know, so consider subscribing and clicking the bell if you want to stay updated. If you'd like to support me further, you can do so on my Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who already do exactly that. And thank you for watching. Duke Sloth, out.